Today on 90 Feet Away, we have ex-UNC baseball player and first-round draft pick of the 2020 COVID MLB draft, Aaron Sabato. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back to 90 Feet Away. Today we are joined by Minnesota Twins first round draft pick in 2020, Aaron Chase Sabato, local boy from Westchester, New York. Aaron, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Hell yeah, man. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Local kid. I think I first met you when you were probably 11 years old. And
yeah.
we were I think we were playing against you. Brett was probably playing against you. From an early age, Aaron, you know, I'm not saying this to make you feel good. You were different. I'm talking Little League, 10U, 11U. You were a different kid. You did things differently. You understood the game. The ball came off your bat. There wasn't a position you couldn't play. At what point did you start to feel different than your friends?
Honestly, I thought maybe like when I was really young. I mean, I grew up behind Pine Ridge Park in Rybrook, and so we always would go down there. And my brother, I watched him play baseball his whole life, and then we played together. And then my dad would take me down to Pine Ridge. And all my friends growing up, like, nobody could hit a home run. Even my brother, like, even his friends, like, nobody really hit a home run at Pine Ridge until they were probably 10, 11, like 12. And then my dad took me, and I'll never forget it because I was 7 years old. And when I was 7, I hit my first home run in practice with my dad out of Pine Ridge. And it was like 200 at the time. And I think my dad looked at me and he was like, and I was like, wow, like, I'm like, because then you look at the guys and you're like, these guys are 5 years older than me, not hitting home runs out of that field. And I'll never forget, that was my first home run in practice. And then we get to our Little League game, and I'm in 8U. And in 8U, there used to be a tree in right field that hung all the way over. So I pitcher throws one, and I crush one to opposite field right down the right field line, and it goes like, I'm not kidding, 30 feet up into the tree. The ball comes back down and into the field of play, and the other coach runs on the field and stops the game. And he goes, we want that to be an out because, or a ground rule double because it went up, came back in, and then they threw it. And I think I was at like first base because everybody stopped.
Right.
So my coach comes out and goes, that's got to be a home run. And the umpire, and I'll never forget, I was 8 years old. The umpire goes out and he said to the other coach, he looks at him, he goes, that was 30 feet up into the tree. He said, that's 100% a home run. And that was my first Little League home run. He goes, no way am I giving you that as a ball back in play.
Okay, so 8 years old, and I don't care if the field was 160 feet, right? 8-year-olds don't understand the game. Mm-hmm. They have no body control. Like they're hitting the ball, but like half the time it's by accident. So you hit a ball 30 feet up the tree. So let's just say arguably it was like 235 feet at 8U. Okay. How long did you stay at 8U?
How long?
Yeah. Did they make you finish the season?
Well, yeah. So I played all the time. Well, that was the thing was I would always practice with my brother. My brother's 2.5 years older than me,
right.
And my dad coached him.
Right.
And I would always practice with their team, but then I played because there was no Little League. My dad started the Rybrook Little League, and we loved baseball so much that there wasn't really any teams. So when my dad finally got him and his friends had kids my age, and we only had enough really to make an 8U team, and my brother's team was 12. Or my brother's team was 10. And so my dad made me practice with them, but I had to play 8U because Rybrook didn't have a lot of baseball.
But you always hung with Teddy.
Oh, always.
Always hung with Teddy's guys, so, right?
Yeah.
2.5 years older, but like no fear, like you belonged with those guys.
Yeah.
Right?
My dad would have just always had me. It was just honestly competitive and since I was little. I mean, my dad always had me practicing, and he just always wanted me to measure up. It didn't matter even if I was better or worse. He just wanted me to see that, like, this is what it looks like for guys that are a little older, that can move a little faster, could throw a little harder, and he just always wanted me to be around them.
Never intimidated by being there?
Never.
So we go through Little League, and I know you start playing, like, different travel ball and stuff like that, but now you're, like, 13, 14, and you have some decisions to make, some difficult decisions. Do I leave my town? do I go to a different school? And you did. You ended up leaving Rybrook and you went to Brunswick. Okay. Do you think that was important in your journey? Like to take that year, because you ended up reclassing.
Yeah.
Right. So you went, I think, back into, was it?
I did my freshman year at Blindbrook,
and then went back and started over at Brunswick. Yeah. So was that big for you from a maturity standpoint? And I'm not talking baseball.
Yeah.
Just personal maturity. Why do you think that was so big for you?
Well, I think it's one of the things, we talk about, just my dad has been my role model, biggest influence in the game of baseball. And I think it just talks about, you got to, even your whole life, no matter if it's your girlfriend, wife, best friends, you always have a team. And my dad had always put me in places that, whether I liked it or not, was going to grow me in the game, but also as a human being off the field. And I didn't really like the aspect of repeating, but at the time, I didn't know it would mature me that much as when I did. I really realized it probably when I got to my freshman year of college. And when I finally stepped on campus where it was turned to really play competitive baseball, try to win a spot, try to play an ACC ball. And then I realized I had gotten another year that 4 years ago, I didn't really realize it at the time. But now that I'm on campus, I am a little bit more mature. I'm a 1 year older. I know my body. I know what I want to do. And I also just felt like that separated me from just my competition of my freshman class when I got there. It was I know what I want to do. I've had that year to surpass them in a sense, because when my dad and I we repeated me, I took that whole year I played a little bit of summer ball with the New York Nine and that was at the time when I was there, and played going through the Bronx and played that, but I didn't do a crazy travel ball circuit. I went traveling to South Jersey and Philly, but I really took that year to work on my body and work on getting better as a whole of baseball, instead of let's just go play ball for a whole year. It was it was that sense of maturity of let's get a little bit better body-wise, let's get a little healthier, but body-wise, and let's also get mentally prepared to your next year that's when you're really going to go into travel ball and really going to go into the summer ball circuit.
But Brunswick also kept you straight as far as academics as well, right? They pushed you.
It was just tremendous academic.
A great atmosphere for you, right? To kind of get you ready for an ACC education, not just baseball, but the education piece as well. So you mentioned the New York Nine. Shout out to Ian and Coach Stan and Coach McCarthy. But after the New York Nine, you did something that I don't know that I know any other local kid really did. You disappeared and you moved down to Georgia.
Yeah.
For the summer. So you played. It wasn't like we go down for a week. You spent your entire summer there playing for, I think it was Chain National, right?
Yeah, at the time, and now it's 5-Star National.
Now it's 5-Star National. So how did that happen? And how important was that in your recruiting process to get you ready?
Yeah, so that's what it's funny. I didn't know. I got the opportunity to play at Brunswick, so we go play at Brunswick, and now a lot of the guys that I had grown up and watching my brother play with, they were at Brunswick as well. So we put it together, and my dad had coached all these kids. I think my freshman year and sophomore year, my Brunswick team had about, I want to say it was 12 Division I commits, and we had all grown up together. We had all played together, and so we get involved. We're doing really well. We're crushing teams. We didn't lose a league game in my 2 years in high school.
Wow.
That was my brother's grade and all of his friends, and then my grade. And so we get some national attention, and we get invited to the 50 best high school teams to play in Lake Point, Georgia at the time, which was perfect game. And we go down there. I'm playing a game. I did pretty well. I hit a home run. I had a couple more hits, and this man approaches me, big Southern Georgia guy, and he goes, "Hey, I run a travel ball team. We want you to play." And now I had never seen anything like this. Nobody up here goes and just picks out one kid, taps him on the shoulder, and it's "Hey, we want you to come play travel ball team in Georgia." It's more the facilities, things around. It's not really more, and it's not really kind of like that. And I was like, okay, well, what would I be doing? And he's like, oh, well, you'll live in my pool house and you'll play the summer ball for 3 or 4 months.
And you knew nothing about him.
Never met the guy in my life. Never knew anything about him. And I'm like, I guess I can give you my dad's number.
Right.
I'm like, I can give you my dad's number. And
now, was Dad with you or no?
No, I was by myself. I was like, I can give you my dad's number, and then we can talk from there. And so that might have been, I want to say March. And then within 2 months of probably back and forth, my dad and I are like, yeah, you're just going to go live in this guy's pool house, and you're going to play summer ball for 4 months.
And you were 15?
I was 15, but turning 16 in that June.
Okay. You show up in Georgia. You know nobody because you don't even know this guy. You met him one time. You're living in this strange guy's pool house. What's that summer like?
So my parents are funny because when I left, I'm not kidding. I mean, I'll say it on here. I cried the day before I left. I was 15 years old. I never wanted to go. I never done anything like this. My dad had coached me my whole life. Everywhere I played baseball, my dad was always on the field, or my brother was on the field, and I had some sibling or best friend.
And your family's incredibly close.
Yeah. Oh, okay. My God. Yeah. So, we're super. I mean, we're the big Italian family.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I grew up. Yeah. Sundays was at grandma's. Thursday was at great grandma's. Tuesday, my great grandma came to me, and Friday we went back to my grandma's. So that was 4 days a week.
So you're trading in like rigatoni and manigut for pulled pork and barbecue, right? And you're on your own.
So my dad drops me off. I call my mom and dad probably 5 times a day for maybe the first 3 days.
Crying.
No, I'm okay when they drop me off. And then they're funny because my mom says, she's like, he went from crying the day before, and probably about 4 or 5 days in, I don't think I called him for like 2 months.
Wow.
And I fell in love with, I mean, we were down there. He had a pool. I lived in the pool house. We were traveling every probably 48 hours, playing tournaments for a week straight, living in hotels. And then I had a couple other guys on the team. And I just honestly fell in love with just traveling all of like southeast of the country and playing all around. And we were playing the greatest competition that I had played at that time. And I just absolutely just fell in love. He had ATVs. We were playing in the pool. We were doing all the stuff, but every day he woke me up and he said, we had to go to the gym from 9:30 to 11, and every day from 11, because I had my license because I turned 16, every day we had to go to the facility that they owned. You had to go from the gym 11 to 12:30, and he said, and then you can go home and do what you want. So then that was the first time I really got in a routine of I went to the gym, I worked out with him, and then I went to his facility and hit, and then we could do like what we wanted.
Were you the only Northeasterner on the team? Like from what I remember,
I had one more kid from Perth Amboy, Darius Diaz.
Did he stay with you in the pool house?
Yeah, he stayed with us for a little bit.
Interesting. Okay, yep. I didn't know that. Okay, and then most of the other kids were from, to quote them, because I played against them at one point, that corridor.
Yeah, they were all like Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and like Tennessee.
So you did this for one summer?
I did it for one summer, fell in love. Fell in love with just doing it. I made a best friend on the team. His name was Braden Osborne. And then I lived with Braden the next summer in Tennessee. And then I traveled with him throughout that part.
So while all your friends are playing on all of these great travel teams, all these great local travel teams, you disappear and you're just playing at this whole other level. Mm-hmm. PBR, perfect game. Any of that stuff mean anything to you at that time?
Well, yeah, Perfect Game was huge. It was kind of like
Lake Point was owned by Perfect Game at that time, right?
Well, back then, honestly, like it really was like you kind of didn't really get committed unless you had really gone to those, like because those colleges wanted to see you play against better competition, because everybody knows from the New York, you get that little bit of rap of, well, he doesn't play the greatest of competition, or if you do, it's for one game because your high school happens to play somebody else. And so it was funny because when I went to a couple camps my freshman year to UNC, and they said, like, we'll keep following you. And then when I started to do a little bit of the perfect game circuit, that's after like how I had got my offer, was when I started to play better competition.
Interesting. So it had nothing to do with chain.
No, well, playing chain got me the opportunity. Once I played that summer ball, I got invited to the sophomore, what is it? It's like there's one that's the national showcase and one the underclass, and the underclass was for sophomores. And yeah, it was through chain. Played a couple. I got invited to do that. And then when I was there, I was in that Fenway JetBlue Park, which is now which is now the Red Sox, but
Right.
I was drafted by the Twins, which is right there in Fort
Right.
Myers. Playing, it was like probably my first time I'm playing against a guy throwing like 98 side armor, and I crushed one like 420 into the right center of the Fenway Jet Blue, and I hit a triple. And right after that, like I had a couple coaches that wanted to offer me.
So we'll get to this. So you eventually play at UNC, and I know that was like your first, second, and third choice. I know you loved it, and you wanted to be a Tar Heel. Going through your journey, who else wanted you? Because you got a lot of face time in front of some great colleges through your travel ball journey.
Well, growing up, it was really just more of these like Northeast teams. And then, I had known you guys, I had known Matt, and Matt was at Iona at the time. And it was funny because when I was growing up, I always everybody just wants that college offer. Everybody just wants to, kind of commit and have a place to just like play. And I'll never forget when I was growing up, and not that I didn't believe, but I was young, like 14, 15, and I was hitting with Matt and I was hitting with guys around, and I was telling Matt, like, I'm like, I want to play college ball. I want to do this. And Matt would always tell me, and this is talk about like just people trusting. And he's like, dude, he's like, don't worry about these schools up here. He's like, you're not going to those schools. And I'm here like 15. I'm like, I want to play D1 baseball. I'm like, Iona. I'm like, that's D1. I'm like, you hear about all my dad's friends growing up. My dad played at Pace and all of his friends played Iona. I'm like, I want to play D1 baseball. And it's just trusting those guys. They were like, dude, he's like, you're not going to play there. Like, you're like, trust yourself. Like, take your years. Like, play competition and just believe in yourself and keep going. Because from being from New York, you dream of playing at those schools, but you don't know if you can do it.
There's no question about it. But having now spent 2 summers down south and traveling Florida, Georgia, and getting all this face time in front of really good coaching staffs, UNC was your ultimate destination.
It's the only place I wanted to go. It was my only offer.
It was your only offer.
It was the first day after I had played in that underclass showcase. My dad told me, like, because they could finally connect, because I was 16. I forgot what it was at the time, but
right. It changes every year.
Yeah, exactly. If it was July, whatever. And he was like, these schools, a bunch of coaches want to call you. And I was like, is any of them UNC? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's the only phone call I want to take. And it was the only one I wanted to take. He called me, and it was Coach Jackson at the time. And Coach Jackson, who's now back at UNC, he's like, hey, we want to offer you, like, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, this, your offer is outstanding, like, take with your time. And I was like, no, sir, like, this is the only place I've ever wanted to be. Like, this is where I want to play. And he's like, okay, well, he goes, well, son, you're a Tar Heel. And then I committed right there. It was the only place I ever wanted to go. It was my one offer, and that's just only where I wanted to be.
You got to be That's the most boring story I've ever heard in my life, dude. I'm waiting to hear like Florida State, Florida, LSU. Okay. So do you pitch yourself? Like, do you believe it?
Well, yeah, it was so funny because literally it was just like, okay, your son, you're a Tar Heel, and then boom, like hang up. And then me and my dad were in the parking lot of JetBlue in Fort Myers, and he gave me the biggest hug. Like, he had tears in his eyes, I had tears in my eyes, and I was just it was the only thing I've ever wanted to do. Like, since I was little, the only place I ever wanted to be was UNC.
Mission accomplished.
And it was mission accomplished, and I was like, oh my God.
All right, we're walking into UNC. So I have to tell the audience very quickly that Aaron was a shortstop. Aaron was a third baseman. Aaron was a catcher. Aaron was a closing pitcher. There was nothing that Aaron couldn't do, but this is one of my favorite stories of all time. And when I talk to parents, one of the things that I like to talk about is being able to do so many different things, being a chameleon, right? Whatever the situation calls for, I'm ready to go. Aaron walks into UNC. You walk into UNC and you go right to third base. You're doing individuals.
Well, they asked me, they said, go to the position you think you should play. And now I had a shortstop in high school. I mean, I knew I was always bigger, but I was like, okay, I'm smart enough to not go to shortstop. And I was like, I'm going to go to third base. So I go to third base. I'm like, that seems like the smart option.
So we go to third base. Great body, great third baseman's body. And athletic. I mean, incredible, movement. I mean, the kid's body moves incredibly well. You take 3 ground balls at third.
Yeah, I mean, it was only individuals at the time, so yeah, it couldn't have been long. It wasn't long.
Okay, 3 to 5 ground ball. You made every play.
Yeah,
made every play. Coach Fox calls time. Walks over to you and says, "Can I see your glove?"
Yeah. He comes over to me, and he's like, "Let me see." And so he grabs my glove, he takes it off my hand, and he like points to first base, and he's like, and I'm like, "Over there?" And he's like, "Yeah, go. You're gonna go over there." And I was like,
"But you don't have a first baseman's vet."
No, I never had one in my life.
So he got you a first baseman's vet.
I had to use like a literally
somebody's first baseman's
vet.
Yeah. Never played first base in your life.
Never.
Like, not even for fun.
Nope.
From that day, you've never played another position.
No.
Okay, so we get to UNC, the school of your dreams. Start as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look back on that and kind of like, holy, because that's not it. I mean, guys at D3 don't start as freshmen all the time, right? You're at one of the greatest baseball schools in the country. You start freshman year. What's that like for you?
I mean,
the lights have to be so bright. I mean, like you're a rock star, right?
Yeah.
In Chapel Hill, like you're a guy, you're a name. You got kids waiting for your autograph. What's that like your first year? Because you're still a kid.
Yeah,
you're still a kid.
So, well, I'll premise it with that. It's like once I went to first, Michael Bush, who now the primetime first baseman for the Chicago Cubs, was an All-American, and he was playing first base. So it was like, okay, well, I went from like, okay, let me try to compete on third base to now I'm behind an All-American. And then after a couple practices, I heard that he wanted to play in the outfield. So then I was like, okay, he goes out there. But Coach Fox was very good about not getting people like too comfortable or not thinking that, you're set in stone on where you're going to play. So we didn't know. He doesn't put the lineup up for that first game probably until about 30 minutes before first pitch. So everybody's out there competing, like, because he says, like, every day, in college ball, like, that infield, outfield, like, it's legit. It's hard throws to the chest, crisp, as clean as it could be. Otherwise, you're getting yanked off the field. And so we go through that, finally goes, and then it's, boom, comes up, and I'm in the 3-hole as a freshman on my first game as soon as the lineup comes up. And, I was on cloud 9. I was like, this is everything I wanted to do, but it feels like it just comes up so fast.
Nerves?
Yeah, I was nervous, but I was more excited, like, because I had the Carolina blue, I had the white
sphincter, sphincter like this.
No, I was relaxed.
So you're good. You're good. I mean, this is what you've done your whole life, right? Mm-hmm. Like you believe there, like you really truly believe you belong in the 3 holes of freshman.
Yeah, no doubt.
Was it Daddy? And we know we love Daddy.
Yeah,
Dad's crazy.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way. Was it Daddy pushing you from that early age with Teddy that got you ready for this type of environment, Aaron? Like, did you ever think back? Most kids get to college. They're not playing at UNC. They're playing at a small D3 in Vermont or something, and they're nervous as hell. They're throwing up in the bathroom. For you, it was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Here I am, and let's go do this. How is that who you are? Like, that's your makeup. But like, where does that come from?
Well, I think ultimately, as I've gotten older, I've started to realize more, and my dad and I have gotten so great. Like now, because it's so tough. Like, even with your kids, like, it's hard to separate the dad and the coach and the son and the player. But what I'm realizing now is that my dad just believed in me way more at any point in my life than I believed in myself. 100%. And it's so hard for him to then emulate that or tell you that, because you're just going to say, okay, yeah, Dad, yeah, sure. But my dad realizing it through that, he showed me that in every day. And not that I didn't believe it, but yeah, there's no way I would have been able to be where I am without my dad, because it's very different. Like today's day or wherever, you see dads, they care. They take you to baseball lessons. They take you to games, right? No, not me. I woke up Matt was in my backyard already in my cage and saying, hey, he'd call me. I'm saying, what's up, Matt? And he's like, where are you? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, well, I'm in your cage. He goes, I'm in your backyard in your cage. And I'm waking up. And I'm like, okay, give me 15 minutes. My dad was more of, he's like, instead of I'm not going to take you, he's going to be like, that's going to be at your doorstep every day. And every access you have to getting better in the game is going to be there. Like, I mean, I was waking up and people were in my backyard. And I'm like, and then you think about it as you get older and you're like, yeah, it's my dad tells me, he's like, oh, I do it because I love you and I care. And it's like, well, that's what it looked like for him. That's what it was. It was, I'm gonna give you everything I can to make you better.
It's incredible for me to hear you say this because, again, as I said, everybody that meets your father, you got to love him. There were days we had to ask him to leave here, though.
Yeah.
Like we had to ask him to go into the lobby and wait outside, right? Because, as you said, the toughest thing for a father with a son is to separate church and state. I'm always going to be your father. I'm not always going to be your coach. I have to learn those boundaries. Listening to you talk about that today really makes me feel great, right? Because, like, just appreciation for everything that he's done and continues to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, that he did and continues with. It's amazing. You go out, I'd say you have pretty decent freshman year. How many home runs did you hit? 17?
18.
18. I'm sorry. Off by one. 18 home runs as a freshman. People, like I said, you're drawing attention, right? Kind of scary numbers, big numbers. You belong in the 3-hole. What was your biggest challenge playing ACC baseball, Aaron? Because I don't care if it was Brunswick or high-level travel ball, they're scouting you now differently than you've ever been scouted. So after you hurt them, are they attacking you differently? What were the adjustments like for you as a college hitter?
I think it just got to more, people threw harder. They had a little more pitch, but they were just more accurate. Like it was always, I feel like in high school, it was like somebody either had a good fastball or a good curveball. And then you got to college and it was like the Friday guy had a good fastball, curveball, and changeup. And it was just more pitches for each guy as you got like higher up in baseball. And that was, I think, the biggest adjustment of realizing is like, okay, well, I don't really just have to be ready for a fastball. Like, you know, you've got to be ready for a bunch of different pitches that this guy can now throw over the plate instead of just one. So that would I say would be the biggest because, you know, there's times where like I've overthought a couple things and, you know, you could get quick down some rabbit holes. But that would say I would be the biggest is guys throwing multiple pitches over the plate for strikes and are in more command of their stuff.
Now, in, you know, team stuff, scrimmage stuff, did that prepare you also for that level? Because now your teammates are throwing that as well.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
like, taking live at-bats every day against guys that are throwing nasty stuff, right? Everybody low to mid-90s with 2 or 3 pitches. How'd that help you?
Well, that was, I mean, it prepared me tremendously because in college it's such a set schedule. It was like, you know, we would do our lifts. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we would have team practices Tuesday and Thursday. Some would be very big team practices of like blue, white, full pants jersey, like live off the machine, fundamentals, get in the game. And then like Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be 3 scrimmages a week. And so that got you really into the process of like, okay, well, it's not really just practicing baseball anymore. It's practicing getting all the fundamentals, but now we're going to play a game 3 times a week and let's see how we can put those and hone your skills into doing that. And then once we do that, we're going to go in the next week, okay, let's see, what did we learn from those scrimmages? What did we struggle with? And then because those pitching coaches, like, it's their job. It's how they feed their family.
Sure.
Like, their job is to get every hitter out that comes up there. So, and then when you start learning, especially the coach that plays with you, well, now he might think, okay, well, he struggles with this. And then they start attacking you more. So that was like really the first time, like you said, I started getting that scouting of that pitching coach is learning from me and everything I'm doing and what I'm struggling with. And now every time I get up there, it's like, if you struggle with sliders, he'd throw 5 sliders. He wasn't just allowing you because you're at the college. Like, he wants you to hit these. Like, those are his pitchers and his staff.
He's trying to expose you.
Exactly.
But in turn, that's making you better.
100%.
Right. Freshman year's done. I don't remember where you played freshman year summer ball.
I got surgery my freshman year.
Right. Okay. You go back, second year. Again, great year. Because of your reclassing, you are a draft eligible sophomore.
Yep.
You go to the Cape.
No, I got injured.
You got injured the second year again?
No, I got surgery my freshman year, and then only played in COVID for 20 games, and then that was it.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh my God, COVID. Oh God Almighty. All right, so you didn't even get a chance to go to the Cape, but you're draft eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of teams talking to you. You will go down forever as the draft shortened, right? What were there, five rounds? Five rounds, right? 5-round draft in COVID. You're a first-round draft pick for the Minnesota Twins. 20 games as a sophomore, full year as a freshman. How many teams were talking to you at that time?
Well, the draft process, I mean, I knew I was going to be a first-rounder. But honestly...
But how do you know? How do you know?
No,
there's a bunch of people talking to you, but it doesn't always pan out. I can drop from first to second or second to third if they grab the first baseman.
Yeah, I mean,
how are you so sure?
I mean, coming off my freshman year and coming off the 20-game stint I had, I mean, after my freshman year, I got ranked the number 1 hitter in the country. And then after my sophomore year, I mean, I played 19 games. I had like 7 homers. I was hitting 300. And it was just more of like, I knew that had that season gone out, I would have been. And so it was kind of more of like, with what I had done and been around me, I kind of knew that I had put myself in a good chance to be pretty locked up for a first round. And then I knew even if anything, or possibly like I could have went back to school. So I really did know that like I was...
You were in a great position.
Yeah.
You were in a phenomenal position
yeah.
because worst case scenario, you go back to UNC for a third year, which really would have been your second year, right? Because you were given back that year of eligibility. Mm-hmm. So you drafted by the Twins in COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
Yeah,
awful.
It was pretty nuts, yeah.
It's awful. Did you even get to go down to Fort Myers? Or
no, so so COVID hit in March, obviously for everybody. Didn't do anything. We had to finish school. I was online. I finished in May. Then I got drafted in June. Didn't hear anything. We did a 5 weeks instructs all the way in October. So now I haven't played baseball from February or anybody from February until October.
Wow.
We did 5 weeks, and then spring training wasn't until April of the next year. So we're talking 5 weeks of baseball in about a year.
How bizarre is that?
Oh, it was crazy.
How bad was that mentally for you?
I don't think it was bad mentally. I think it was very...
No anxiety of like, I just want to go. I just want to get there.
I think it was weird. I mean, I had never had a summer. I mean, I had never had a spring or fall to not play baseball or not do anything. So it was very weird in that sense. But, I mean, I think as a family, we were close. I think as a family and friends, like we got even closer through that time because we spent time together.
So you have your 5 weeks, and then even right for the following year now, we're into 2021.
This is 2021.
So 2021 is a normal minor league season.
Normal minor league season, yeah, but different spring training.
Different spring training. They start you out at...
I was in low A.
Low A.
Yeah.
How long were you there?
I was there for a while. I really struggled that first year especially.
What did you struggle with?
Mentally of every game. I think in college, looking back on it, like what we said, I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to hone your skills, hone your craft with whatever you struggled on, and then play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And in college, I mean, you walk a couple times, you might get 10 at-bats in a weekend. You could get 10 at-bats in 1.5 games in pro ball. And I think I really struggled with that, of hitting a little bit of a stretch of, striking out and walking and not putting the balls in play like I want. And then next thing you know, you're getting 20 at-bats in a week. And you have to do that now for another 20 weeks. And so I think I really struggled with that of I didn't have a routine. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to go about my day by day because I was playing games at 7:30 at night. This was before the pitch clock too. Now it's a 3.5, 4 hour game. It's 11 o'clock at night. And now I have to shower, get ready, go back to the apartment, and then go to sleep and be back at the stadium for 12 o'clock the next day.
Right.
And I had never done that. I hadn't dealt with that.
You had an incredibly regimented college experience.
Yeah, and then COVID hit, and then basically you had a year off, and then now it's going into this whole new thing of, I'm not really sure how I want to go about it. And I just really struggled with the mental game of having confidence every day, honestly, of a little bit of belief in myself that, it doesn't matter what you do for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 at-bats. You get 400 to 500 in a healthy season. So you could look at somebody and say, this guy's 0 for 50. That's a fifth of the season.
Right.
You have so much time. And, and I think I really struggled with that because in college it was, not really that every at-bat counts, but it was more every weekend counts. And you're going to play summer ball. Not even every week matters, but you want to be just so consistent in pro ball because that's how you have a great season.
What helped you get out of the funk?
My first year, I got a mental health coach.
Was that provided by the Twins at the time, or that was private?
The Twins had some, but this was private through my agency. They had a guy that they said that they loved.
And you had never needed that before?
No,
right?
Never. Well, I didn't even think I need. A lot of people would come up to me during the season and tell me I need it because it's kind of like anything. Like when people tell you you need something, especially when it comes to that. I mean, now you know how.
Because your whole life, I'm not saying everything came easy, but you were a guy, and all of a sudden you're doubting, right? You believed as a freshman you should be batting third at UNC in the ACC, but you started doubting yourself. It wasn't necessarily the people doubted you; you were doubting yourself. How did that help you, Aaron? I mean, because kudos for talking about it. It's easy now. Mental health is normal, right? Every team has several of them.
Yeah.
Every company has part of it in their structure of their company. But it wasn't always that way, right? You feel weird about it at first a little bit?
Well, yeah. I think I had the contact for him for a while. And I didn't. It took me probably about a month to really call him. But, yeah, it just got down to a point where I just needed it. And I just needed to, and it wasn't so much about, you just get caught up with the game of baseball. And I mean, my whole life it was my identity. It was everything I ever done. It was, think about everything you said. There was how I grew up. It was how I got so close with my dad and my brother. It was how I went to Blindbrook. It was how I went from Blindbrook to Brunswick. It was how I found my summer ball team. It was how I found my opportunity to play in college. And then it was from college, it was how I was able to provide for my life.
But the difference for me is you hit several times a week. You work out several times a week. You pull a muscle, you go for massage. That's what mental health is today. Mm-hmm. It's just another piece of keeping the whole package where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. Once you reached out to this guy, which took a month, and you got comfortable, you might not have been comfortable right away. How much of a help was it for you?
Oh, it was tremendous.
Game changer for you.
It was able to just be able to be okay with things. But it was so funny because when you start thinking about it now, it was like he was talking like it's okay to be I think I listed out. He asked me how many times I'd struck out that season. And he asked me to say the number out loud, and he was like, "Say that you're okay with that number." It's like he's just asking me to be okay with a number of strikeouts, and it's like, I think it's just within the game you have to be okay with what you want to be defined by. And I'm not saying that obviously you should never care about certain numbers or stats. I think you should in certain things, but you don't want to let it define you. If you strike out 20 times, so what? But if you start letting that define you, I think that's why I let that 20 go to 100. because that's what it felt like every day of you start counting it. Just like when it's a slump. Why do people think it's a slump? Because you know exactly the number. I've struck out. I'm out. I'm 0 for 20. And then you're 0 for 25. And then 0 for 30. And I just started letting those numbers define me by all of the failures instead of just growing from each step of every strikeout is leading me closer.
But you never needed it before this.
No.
Because life came easy to you. Not you put the work in.
Yeah.
But the game came easy to you, so there was no struggle.
Yeah. It came easy, but I think it was what I said about the work of I could have been 0 for 12 in college, but I'm not playing another game for 4 days. So now I'm getting my ass back to work, and I'm working for 4 days on everything that got me out.
You don't have that time. And then you got a game tomorrow.
You could have 7 at-bats today. You got 5 tomorrow. In about it's already by the time you get back, your head's on the pillow. It's 11:30 at night. You got about 12 hours, and about 9 of those are sleep. So what are you going to do?
So a mental health coach is helping you through this.
Yeah.
And we get back at it. You move on from
well, and after that, in my last 40 games or 38 games, I hit 17 homers. Right after that.
Right. So you go from struggling to back to being Aaron.
Yeah.
And you get promoted.
Yep.
So I take that deep breath and I go, okay, baby, here we are.
Yeah.
And now what's the next year like for you?
2022, I struggled a little bit to start, doing really well in high A. I ended up hitting 17 homers in high A. I'm hitting 225. And then I get promoted to double A. And I had 5 week stint, and I'm just struggling consistency-wise. Kind of getting just striking out a lot, not putting a whole lot of balls in play. And I break my hand at double A.
So this is part of what people don't understand, becomes part of the story, because I can do everything I can possibly do, and one kid misses with a pitch, and now you're sidelined again.
Yeah.
And how long are you out now?
Well, there was only 2 weeks left of the season, so my season was done.
Season was done. So now I have an off season of rehab. I remember you coming in.
I go back down to get rehab in Florida, because that's where all the rehab guys go. Within 2 days that I'm down there, Hurricane Ian is coming in, and he goes, everybody has to get shipped out to go home. So now I got sent home, and I had to find my own rehab up here because nobody could be down there.
Right. And you're hitting with one hand. One hand's in a cast. You're literally hitting with one hand. You get yourself ready for spring training again.
Yep.
So now we're into 2020.
That's 2023.
So now we're into 24.
No,
okay. That was 22.
Spring of 23.
So now we're into spring 23. How long are you playing again until they break the other hand?
I played 3 games of 2023.
So understand this. He gets hit with a fastball, breaks his hand to finish the 2022 season, works his ass off to get all the way back for 2023. 3 games in, breaks the other hand.
Same team, same field.
Great. Again, so now, never mind consistency, mental health. Can't keep you on the field. It's not your fault.
No.
Can't keep you on the field. So now the season starts, and you're already behind. You have another 4 to 6 weeks in the cast.
Yeah, I think I was out I missed 2 months.
Okay.
I think it was 8 weeks. I played 3 games. I didn't go back in until around probably right before my birthday, around June.
Okay. Takes time to ramp up.
Well, yeah, I mean, even that, and that's, I think, some of the mental stuff. It's I barely played in Double A my first year. Well, now I only have about 2.5 months of my season in Double A this year, so it's kind of that they just want me to get me acclimated. I've missed a lot of time. You're just kind of going to be there, kind of thing.
What's it like for you? I mean, because that's a tough thing.
Yeah, in 2023, it was okay. I mean, I was hitting all right for a little bit. My power was I think I had like 12 homers in the 2.5 months I was there. It was pretty decent, but just not like I wanted it to be, kind of. But I mean, it's hard. In both my spring, because I broke my hand in 22, and then I didn't play a lot I had a little bit of spring training games in 23, but not many, and then I had 3, and then I'm missing 2 months. So like, I wasn't getting a lot of live at bats, so I really wasn't playing a whole lot of baseball. But it was a little bit tough, but it definitely could have been better, but it just wasn't like how I wanted it.
So now the hands are healed. Feeling better.
Yeah, I go to the fall league at the end of the year.
Arizona Fall League. Do pretty well.
I did very well.
And now we're getting ready for the 24 season.
Yeah.
How long are you playing until you get hurt?
2024, I go to spring training, and
you're playing. It's a big league thing. Big league at bats. Yeah.
But my grandpa passed away. So my grandpa passed away. I come back up here. I miss like 3 days. I fly back down. I get back within maybe 48 hours, and I strained my oblique. And then that took me about, I think I missed the first month and a half of the season. So, and then I played no live at bats. I had some live at bats earlier, but I wasn't in like game stuff in spring training. I got hurt a little bit, and then I didn't get back to like the middle of May. And
then ended up okay. I mean, you ended up okay.
Well, I did well, and then I had a hand problem. I got hit, same team, same field. I got hit again, and third time, and then the next day I'm playing in a game. I take one swing, and I kind of like yelled in pain. I came on the next day. I couldn't even hold the bat with one of my hands, and then played like 2 weeks hurt because I was doing really well when I came back, and I was excited, consistent, have a great routine, and then all of a sudden I can't hold the bat. Play like 2 weeks hurt. I take one swing in Springfield, Missouri, and I'm in so much pain. And then I took that week off. All-Star break was another week, and then took about another week. So now I missed another 4 weeks in the middle of the season. So now I'm about another 2 months of 24 of missing games as well.
So heading into 25, what field did all those injuries happen on? All the hit by pitches
in Wichita, Kansas.
Okay, can we not play there? I mean, can we figure out a way to like have you call out sick for those games, dude?
Oh, that's our AA home field.
I mean, it's awful. The biggest challenge, and the thing that sucks, truly it sucks, they don't know who you are yet even. They know you. They know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
We all know what you're capable of, but they haven't been able to see you long enough consistently to know what they're doing. Like, again, does that start to break me down? You're in your fifth year now.
A little bit more, because I mean, I say it all the time. I'm like, I have so much more to give to this organization than they've seen. And it's kind of hard because I've played parts of 4 seasons, and you know, my numbers haven't been the best of what I wanted, that I'm used to doing or what I have done in my career as a ball player. And so it's kind of, you know, it's more now about doing it more than saying. But I believe that I have so much more to give, and not only just to the organization, but to myself as a ball player, and proving myself right, and realizing that, you know, I'm not out in the field, but I know what I can do, and what I'm capable of.
The oblique is one thing. Getting hit with 3 pitches is not your fault.
Yeah.
Right? It's not your fault.
No.
You know, I feel like the movie Good Will Hunting at the end. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. 2025, I feel like is going to be a life-changing year for you.
I really do believe that. I
think mentally you're in a great place. Physically, I watch you hit a couple times a week when you're up in the Northeast, and you know, I feel like you look great. What are some keys for you to go a month from now to be ready for spring training? What are some things that you want to carry with you?
I want to just I've been really taking care of my body and being in a fit spot. I mean, I've dropped some weight over this offseason. I want to just really be able to just be on the field body-wise, strength-wise, and then honestly of just with all the stuff that I've been working on hitting-wise and body, that I just want to go there and just do it day in and day out, and not waver from what I believe in and how confident I am in myself and the position I'm in right now, being about a month out from spring training, and just taking that. Because I feel like in the past, when you start getting caught up with maybe a month down the road, you start changing. It's like when you're playing a pro ball season, you have to give yourself everything that you work on in that offseason. You got to be balls to the wall, so bought in on your work and trusting yourself that there's a reason that the offseason is 4 months, because you have to put that work and you have to show it for that whole season. There's no going in there and changing. It's do everything that we talked about with the Twins in October and worked out through Florida and up here now, that I want to be so bought in and trust myself and all the work that I've done. And I want to do that from day one of getting to spring training all the way through the rest of the season.
And it's awesome to hear you say the Twins deserve to see that from you, because you obviously want to see that for yourself, but your road to the bigs is paved in the right way. I got to ask you a question, and does it bother you at all that some of your teammates are already in the big leagues? Like not bother you. Like, obviously you're not jealous. They're your friends.
Oh, yeah.
But if not hitting the hand again the next year, like, do you ever look and say, man, what if? Or
no, it doesn't bother me.
Good, because I can control
what you can
only
control.
what I can control.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with I get hit in my hand is why those guys are in the big leagues. That has nothing to do with it.
Absolutely.
Those guys have worked this off, and it's honestly what helps me in my career, because you watch those guys that get up there. They're not up there for no reason. I'm around them every day. They're so professional in the things that they do every day in and day out, and taking care of their body and being unwavered in their process. Like, I don't know what they do behind closed doors, but every day that they're around us, those guys are there for a reason. They work their asses off, and they're absolutely up there. And no, it doesn't bother me, because in anything you do, just like no matter where you go, whether it's summer ball, college, if you want to play, the best players are going to be on that field. It doesn't matter if you're 45 or if you're 25. The best players are going to be on that field. And I know that I'm one of the best players in the game, and I know what I'm capable of and what I still have to give to this game and to myself, that I know that I could be up there. And it doesn't matter who's on or in front of you. It's all that matters is that and that belief, because they're going to put the best players on the field. And if I'm doing what I do, and I know that I'm one of those best players.
So I'm going to finish by saying this. I didn't know you enough to love you at 11. I just knew who you were. I got to work with you a bunch when you were like 14, 15, 16. And I swear I felt like I could have charged admission for people coming to watch the ball come off your bat. And through your entire journey that I have known you, you have never wavered in who you are as a human being, how you approach life, how incredibly important your family is to you and remains to you. I'm not even in this position to say this, but I'm incredibly proud of who you are as a human being.
Thank you.
I've always loved seeing you. I've always loved spending time with you. Really quick story for the audience. At 59 years old, I still play baseball, and I was in a tournament in his spring training facility, and this first round draft pick came to watch some old men playing baseball, and he got the biggest kick out of it. Never telling anybody who he was. He's not the guy. Even look today, he's not wearing anything that says Minnesota Twins. He's confident in who he is, and for that I say thank you, and thank you for being with us today, my man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being with us today on 90 Feet Away. I thought this was a great episode, and you can take something from one of the best that I've ever been around. See you next time.